Hello everyone and welcome to my first how-to video for 2 Point Hospital. So I've been recording a series on YouTube and I noticed that one of my videos in particular was more popular than the others. And this is actually one that's entitled Queue Management. Now in that particular episode I was focusing on a lot of queue busting. I think I actually described how to queue bust in the previous video, but in that particular one I had a lot of queues and it was the main focus of what I did that episode, hence the title. But it gave me an idea that maybe it would be helpful to some people if I actually created a how-to video on actually dealing with queue management. So here we are. So there's two different ways that we can go about this. First of all, say this GP's office here. I do actually have 4 GP's offices. I think I've got one here, here, and here. And they've all got major queues. Now I think I've actually caused those a little bit worse because I've been rearranging things a little bit in this hospital because I didn't like it. But as your hospital gets busier, the reputation for this hospital is crazy high. Of course, it's going to bring in more patients and you're going to get more people going to the GP's office and what have you. And one of the things that you can do is when your patients go for diagnosis, sometimes they end up having to come back if your staff aren't trained properly. They'll have to come back to the GP's office to get their final diagnosis of what illness they have. So one thing that you can do in particular is here, this bar, for this person this is a new patient, so they haven't got any diagnosis certainty, but this bar here is really important because Alfie Flavour here has actually reached 100% diagnosis, so they're waiting for the GP to tell them what illness they have. But we can actually, when they're not in the toilet, this happens a lot, we can actually go to the queue and select someone and then click this button here and send them for treatment. So there, straight away, they are no longer in the queue for the GP's office and they're heading to the psychiatry. Oh, that guy's just been sick. How gross. So we can go through this. Now it does get a little bit annoying. Especially like when we clicked that guy and he was in the toilet. And this is my least favourite way to do this. Another way that you can do this is if you go down here to your patients list. Now if you can sort your patients via diagnosis level, happiness, health, whichever you prefer. But for this we're going to do diagnosis. So you can see here all the patients that have already been fully diagnosed and they know their illness. But if we scroll down, quite a way, you can see here now they're in order of diagnosis certainty. So we've got a lot here that are ready to go for treatment. So we can just click them here and send them straight away. Well, when they're not in the toilet, of course, as I said, it does happen. We can send them for treatment, like this. And it jumps around, and unfortunately it does jump to them, hence why I prefer to do it this way, because you've got this list here, and you're not going to have to keep going back to find the GP's office that you were looking at the queue for. But let's go back to the beginning and see if some of these have finished what they were doing. So often when I do this, they're in the toilet. It drives me mad. It's like, we're bored. We're going to go to the toilet when we should be queuing for somewhere. But it still thinks that they're in the queue, which is fine. So there we go. We can get most of them. Oh, they're leaving the ward because they've been diagnosed in the ward. And then it should pop up when they leave the room. There we go. Send for treatment. And this guy here can go as well. Now, I would recommend that you probably don't do it anything below maybe 90%. I don't do it any lower than that. And really, I probably would do it a bit higher. I mean, you can take the risk. You've got an 89% chance with this person here of curing them, but you've got an 11% chance of it either failing or them dying. And if you want that no death award, I wouldn't risk it, to be honest. So that's one part. Now you can see this GP's office here, his queue has dropped down to 12, which is really good. Now we're probably getting queues in places like our clown clinic, and that's where you would then need to think about building more treatment rooms. Of course, you could build another GP's office, and that would relieve the queue a little bit. But if, say, you haven't got much money to spend and you're struggling for space or something like that, then this is a quick kind of fix. It's not a permanent one. Your queues will build back up again, but it is a nice quick fix. Another thing that you can do with your queues as well, not just the diagnosis and sending them to their rooms, is to keep on top of lower health patients. So for example here, Ellie Lillywhite has got 42% health, and they're 6 in the queue for the GP's office. Well, I think they need to be up at the first place because they need to be seen first. And say Jessica here, Jessica Cucumber, what a name, has got 92% health. So they want to be lower down the list. Now it's dependent on the rest of your queue as to how far down. Like Cressida here has got 98%, so they want to be last. So you can do little things like this, which helps. Of course, it doesn't guarantee that they won't die before they get to the treatment, but it certainly helps. And again, you can go to your patients list and do it this way. So we can go to health, and you can see this patient's got 1% health, and they're going to the pharmacy. Are they actually going in? No, they are not. They are in the bathroom. Personally, I'm going to send that person home. I think you take a little bit of a reputation hit, but I don't think it matters enough. I think you're better off getting the reputation hit for sending them home than you are for them dying, basically. Again, this person has got 7% health, and they are heading for the queue, so we could put them first, but I'm going to send that patient home. And then here we have Edna Catborn. They're actually being cured, so that's fine. Hopefully they will leave the hospital before they actually die. We can hope, can't we? So who have we got here? We've got someone in the ward. Unfortunately, we can't do anything. Oh, now we can. They have their diagnosis and they're going for treatment. And they've got 13% health, so I might risk that one. I might leave them in there. Here we have Bernard Bobbing, and he's 3rd in the list for the GP's office. Well, I would say he probably wants to be first, but he actually hasn't got his full diagnosis. So again, we could send them home. Ones that are waiting for the ward or treatment rooms. I'm just trying to see if I can find one that's actually diagnosed. There's one. You can bump them up the queue. They're going into the pharmacy, so that's fine. They're going into the GP's office, so there's not probably a lot we can do for them. Oh, actually, we can send that person straight for treatment, and now they're queuing for the pharmacy, so we can put them up to number 1 because they're quite low health. Sometimes, for health queues, in some ways you probably are better going to the room, because it's difficult if you've got multiple GP's office, say, and you can't tell which room you're actually, just in the queue for. So you might have 2 really low patients in each GP's office, but they're in different queues. So sometimes I think for health, you probably are better off going straight to the room. I think that is probably it for now. I mean, like I said, the next step for me here, given that I've got a little bit of space around, would be to build another GP's office, which would help. I pretty much abandoned this hospital once I got my 3rd star. That's why I've only got like 1 clown clinic, 1 PANS lab, a couple of psychiatrists, which now need a bit more help. With the wings over here and here, you probably want to be spreading out and moving right along and creating more rooms. And I think having a good selection of rooms in a hospital wing probably helps. So I've actually started building like diagnosis rooms next to a GP with a few treatment rooms. That might be a good idea. And that way, you know, they go straight from diagnosis to the GP's office. Again, once you get to flottering, you're training your staff. Helping cues would be to make sure that your staff are trained in the diagnosis rooms as best as they can be, because that way they would also skip going back to the GP's office. They would get their diagnosis sooner, so therefore they wouldn't go and queue back up again, or they'd go less times back to each diagnosis room. So I think that pretty much wraps up queue management. Now, this is something that I'm looking to do a bit more, so if there is anything that you would like to know a bit more about, please leave me a comment down below, and I will do my best to try and create a video and explain it in a bit more detail. I hope this video has helped. It did seem to be quite a popular demand. I think queues is something maybe people struggle with the most. It's something I've struggled with, and I've only just started playing with it, of course. You know, the game hasn't been out long, so people want to know these things. So like I said, if there's anything else that you think might help, if there's a video, if I can create it, I will do my best to do so. Right, so I really hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a like, please subscribe if you want to be notified of new videos. Please leave a comment. All comments are welcome, and I always reply as soon as I can. And I really hope you enjoyed this video, and thanks for watching.